Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have our next speaker who's going to be talking on design futures. We have with us Saikat Mitra, who's the creative director of Van Heusen, Vice President Design, APFRL. He's a multifaceted creative management executive with more than 20 years of experience in UK, EMEA, APAC and Indian markets, delivering strategic design and innovation solutions in fashion, lifestyle and consumer brands at multinational blue chip companies as Marks & Spencer, Zogs and many others. So please put your hands together for Saikat Mitra.
Good afternoon. Sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, tough act to follow. The last presentation was about handmade, very unique, and almost singular use of design. I'm going to go just directly the opposite. I'm currently representing a company which is a large and I would say a mass premium retailer with more than 300 stores in India. So the way design works here is quite different and our goals are quite different. And so what I'll do is I'll quickly take you through a couple of things. Firstly, a bit about myself. Currently I'm the creative director on Van Heusen, so I look after fashion, men's, women's, accessories. And apart from my day job, I also look into a lot of technology stuff. Very interested in that. I used to code myself, e-commerce, and also sustainability, and a lot of design thinking conversations. So firstly, just quickly to tell you what designers actually do within a company of this size. Our main jobs are two. The first is to create aesthetical and effective solutions to meet demand and create consumption. So that's the first thing that we actually try to do. And once we do that correctly, we maximize our stakeholder values. So while when I started off my career, we were doing singular designs, here the job of design is much more. There's almost three pyramids of design, three parts of the pyramid of design. One is the operational part of it, and then the functional and the vision part, strategic part of it. So we look at a lot of the functional and strategic discussions here. So while we do this, the main thing that we actually look at is we try to harness a lot of consumer insights, the trends and things that go into our consumer's life, create solutions, and basically use design thinking and create solutions and actually get back to create products that are first of all accepted by them, and then we read them back, and again sort of the process goes on. So what I've done today is I've actually put together 5 key trends that I think is very important. Again, there are many, many more trends which are there in the consumer's life, which affects us. But today we're going to talk about these 5 trends. So the way I look at it, of course, I'll quickly give you a snapshot. One is augment. When I say augment, I'm talking about addition into our lives, mainly through technology. Wellness, of course, is pretty self-explanatory. We talk about body, mind, soul. I'm going beyond that. Identity, again, that's a very, very big one. We'll come to that. Personalization and sustainability. A lot of discussion has already happened within sustainability. Specifically in the craft sector, there's a clear and direct impact. With large businesses like us, it's a different way of implementing it and different way to go around it. So firstly with augment, the whole idea here is, technology is aspecting all parts of our lives. I have not gone too much into all the different technology platforms that we use, but I wanted to talk about a very, very strong trend. People used to shop offline, they went online, and now they're almost expecting the online version in their offline shopping. So there are 2 options that I wanted to share here. In fact, the magic mirror is something that we had already used in one of our stores. So what these two do, we'll start with the magic mirror first. I think this is an option where you can actually trial stuff on virtually through augmented reality and see what you're wearing, get related options and stuff. So a lot of designing actually starts going into how to coordinate looks, how do you actually give them sort of all the other options and increase their basket size within here. The other option here, which is actually, it's actually a smart cubicle. The moment you pick up a denim, unfortunately the video is not working, but if the video worked, what would happen would be you pick up a denim and then you see the information about the denim, about the fits and everything on the screen out there. So again, this is something very interactive. The moment you get into these zones, you can do many more things once you get this whole offline-online interface coming in. The way this impacts us in design is we think of our ranges very differently. We think of going beyond just a product. We look at a product service bundle, and we talk about also, we can talk about a lot about the provenance of the fabrics, where they came from, which factories they are made, traceability. A lot of things come up there, which was not possible without things like this. The other thing that we talk about is a lot of image parsing, image scanning is already going on. This again gets taken up by different brands in different forms. So now if you actually do take an image, you'll be able to get into similar options very quickly. A lot of this is actually being used at the back end where we look at AI and we are actually designing and creating ranges based on image searches and what people are looking at. In the future, this is what I would also say intent marketing, where before people can actually think of what they want to buy, we will start creating ranges exactly tailored to their needs. The other one here is actually a Sephora product where there are magic mirrors again. There is a lot of algorithm which goes in there. It reads your face, it reads your skin tone, and then it does sort of what a stylist would do, but there's a tech interface here. And one of the other things I wanted to talk about, the seamless step part of it. While a lot of tech, a lot of heavy lifting today is being done behind the scenes, consumers don't want any disruption in how they are shopping, how they are buying their fashion. So most of the work that's happening now is actually going to start looking like products which are already there in the offline world, just that they are just smarter products with IoT coming in and a lot of other things that will become much more smarter. So I think Augment overall is about human beings trying to actually add technology into their life and increase the productivity out of their life. So with that, I go to the next option, which I think this trend affects us very deeply. We had a lot of focus on fitness for quite some time, and then the whole focus moved to mental. So I think the whole idea of body, mind and soul is going to become very big. We already have some startups which are working within this space. For example, the CultFit zone, where they actually took the whole fitness area into it. But I think apart from this definitely affects a large part of the retail industry, and we are almost at the moment sort of trying to design, keeping in mind stress, keeping in mind sleep patterns, keeping in mind comfort. So comfort today is the new cool. So, gone are the days when colors were actually helping. Today there's a collection which we do called Move, where we just focus on comfort. And the whole idea again was it's a basic suit from the outside, but once you wear it, you realize it's completely different. So I think the whole focus on body and the whole focus on actually getting your mind, with that is going to be very important. Because of all this, also there's been a huge focus on how you look also. So skincare, specifically natural skincare, has gone up short, the sales have shot through the roof. A lot of this is around the whole idea of people trying to look good, trying to keep fit and actually look fit also. So a lot of, in fact, for us, a small part of this trend is most of our fits have actually moved on from regular fits to slimmer fits, skinnier fits, which was slightly an issue earlier because a lot of the target customers were aged earlier. Again, coming back to the whole focus on preventive health is going to go up. There is already a lot of, there's something like an ECG shirt out there. There are also other products which we are working on, which will try to address this area. But people are going to have a huge thing about getting their health right. And so they will focus on getting the fashion products or accessories. In fact, accessories is a much bigger market there within this area. And finally, the tech and human interface. At the end of the day, the first trend was about tech. but at the end of the day, everything is about edge to edge, which is human to human. So we are going to end up on both sides, there's going to be humans. Now, there's going to be two parts. One is going to be very comfortable with the whole tech interface, and they are going to adopt it very quickly and learn and become master users. Then there's the other extreme, which is actually going to look to exit or try to find their own cocoons and get away from this whole space and create their own alternate realities. So I see very exciting opportunities in fashion coming across both the zones, but definitely it's going to be a much larger thing in the future. Okay, the third part is about identity. So, couple of, let's say the last 30 years, the world has seen globalization, the world sort of shrunk, people traveled, cultures became, almost there was a uniform culture across the world, and then for the last couple of years, you've been seeing a sort of almost a reverse thing happening. So there's this new term, globalization, which has come up very quickly as a result of the trade wars which is happening at the moment. A lot of things are going to change. So when at one point there was a whole onslaught of trying to create this whole new one world, one global identity, the reverse is going to happen. When nations are going to start asserting themselves, they're going to try to get their own identity. And fashion is one of the first things which will impact that. The type of clothes, the type of colors, the type of silhouettes, all that will start slowly changing, and people will start taking positions there. So I think globalization and globalization both will exist, but you'll see the rise of globalization. You'll also actually see, I've put the One Belt, One Road initiative up there. That actually will change a lot of how mass fashion is consumed. Today, in the last 30 years again, China became center stage of all supplies. And if you look back, this is going to impact maybe the next 10 years of how this whole thing is going to play out. So it will change how we design, it will change how we source, it will change how we get our clothes to the shops. So definitely I see that as a huge trend, and that will impact how we are going to design and what we are going to design. Then I have something called global. We've been seeing huge trends in this area where there is this whole global but local flavor. Almost there is, for example, in our cases, we are looking at Western and sort of Indian fusion, but not too much on the handicraft route or the embroidery route. These are smart silhouettes, just longer lengths, and maybe slight details. So a lot of people are picking this up. I mean, the whole even asymmetric or the kurta piece is also coming up into Western brands like us. So apart from that, there will be assertion from China, from India, and the whole East of their own whole identity, which is going to start becoming much more mainstream. Currently, a lot of the mass brands were very Western dominated. We do have ethnic brands playing very strongly, and I see a much more rise within that space. I've also put down fansumers. I think this is something which is very typical Asia, in fact more Korea, China, and the Orient side, where there's a huge fan base which actually builds merchandise. A very interesting thing is brands are actually getting people to co-create ranges, almost build tribes around them. And the last one there, I think, is the traditional part. So I think along with all this, what will happen is there, of course, be a sort of resurgent rise of the traditional wear of most countries. Most countries will have some version of the traditional pieces coming into the mainstream, and that's how newness will come in. Then personal. Along with tech, a lot of things earlier was not possible because tech was not that strong, or tech was not that mainstream. Today, the ideal goal is to actually design and create products for a target consumer of one. And this is all happening within a mass-scale brand like us. So while we would all love to do that, we are still very far off. I've put in some examples here. For example, there you have a large denim brand actually giving you custom manufactured design your design denims, and you can actually even choose your the finish and stuff that you want there. Again, this is quite revolutionary compared to what used to happen earlier. Then you have brands also interacting. For example, there you have products where they're creating craft situations inside the stores. You can come in, you can paint, for an additional some price on that, and you can take back your own limited edition products. Apart from this, there are when you're looking at personalization from brands like us, we look at it as an idea to create newer segments, newer targets of consumers. So with technology and with this new trend, we are now able to create smaller niche consumers. For example, the whole singles, the solo living piece is going to go up very much versus what they were last year. One of the brands, in fact, Alibaba has used this very, very successfully through the Singles Day in 11/11, and they create some massive euphoria around this space. The other thing that we will start seeing is, while most brands, we are actually going after the younger market, we'll quickly start seeing a lot of, I would say above 40, we will not call them seniors, but there's a new term called seenagers. These are seniors with the mindset of teenagers. Now they are consuming fashion in very different ways to what they were 20 years ago. So all this is going to create new categories for us, and we'll be looking at it very, very differently to what we were designing before. And of course, we are going to use a lot of data to sort of try to get to this personalization space. With data comes the issue of privacy, and those are things that we will have to get into, as we get closer. Of course, companies will want more data. Our products, we'll try to see how much we can get them into IoT situations, but we will definitely be looking at issues arising out of adoption of this. Also, just wanted to talk about this actually. It's a very interesting piece. I mean, when we're talking about personalization, of course, there's about giving the right product to the person, but there's also this whole idea of craft, this whole idea of even getting maker studios inside the stores, which is gaining traction. This is a brand which actually has created almost sort of a factory workshop-like space inside the shop. You can go in, you can make your own bag out of it, and they've created this whole conveyor-based event situations through the VM, so that you feel that you're actually making or a makery studio sort of a thing. So a lot of this is going to affect how you create product, how you sell them through retail spaces, and of course how you talk about them. Coming to the last point, sustainability. Again, a lot of everybody has touched on this. I'll go through this very quickly, a couple of points. Most companies, specifically larger companies, they're all traditional businesses. Then you have charities on the other end of the spectrum. The future, you will not be able to exist as a traditional business. You have to be an impact business. You can't be a normal business, and so you can't be creating negative situations. So all businesses will have to ensure that they are moving away from the traditional business, and this has huge impact on how we design, how we source, how we get our stuff. Of course, recycle, reusing, all that is coming up pretty strongly. I've also mentioned here about biophilia. There's a lot of usage of nature into our stores, into our products, and how we actually start selling. That's an Apple Store concept there with trees, and actually that's a solar-powered Apple Store there. And then we talk about closing the loop. Again, there's going to be so much issue on resources and resource efficiency that we are going to see a lot of effort in trying to get maximum out of every product which is there in the market, and how we use it for multiple uses. And finally, I would like to end with this. This is my current sort of inspiration at the moment. This is by an Italian designer firm, Carlo Ratti Associati. Sorry about that.
Associates. You did it very well.
Sorry?
I said Carlo Ratti Associates.
But what I love about this is, this is basically, that's a roof of oranges. When somebody presses a button there, the orange comes down, it gets crushed, you get fresh juice, then the rinds go into the bottom pile there, and then they make bioplastics out of it, and they make the next glass. So you're actually going to drink orange juice there with the glass there. So I think it's a brilliant, I put the link down there, you can have a look at it on YouTube. It's an amazing concept, and I think fashion, for me, fashion or retail, the way I put it, it should be simple, convenient, effective, and engaging. So I think this does all of that, and with that I'll close my pitch.
Thank you for enriching, contributing to this fantastic segment, Saikat. Now, I think that this session was brilliant. Everybody was brilliant, but this is kind of, we're getting closer to the end, and this is like envisioning the future. So I like the way he highlighted the four. Can you give me the last slide, the slide that before you closed it, do you mind? That slide before this one that was there. Because he's really like embracing kind of what we discussed today. If you don't mind, you went too fast.
Is it the last slide?
No, the first one. It was the one, design inspiration, where basically I like that in his first slide, it's kind of, we are getting to recap what everything was discussed today. And it's like augmented wellness, identity, personal, sustain. And I think this value, if you take a picture of this slide, is kind of going to be a little bit of a recap of what we discussed today. And the exercise that I want to challenge you with is, how are you going to incorporate this value into your jewelry, into your company, into your brand, into your vision from now onward, okay? So how this, starting in 2020, or maybe you're already starting your journey. I mean, it's not that you're starting it now, but how are you really incorporating these 5 values? Because yes, you said there are many other values, but the truth is those are the most significant values of this era. And then you can declinate and articulate wellness in different ways, identities and personal sustainability, and so on. But all these elements, I see these keywords as sub-trends of the main trends. And wellness includes also what I say, spirituality. Because wellness is not only physical, but psychical, but also, you're asking me a question, you want to say something? Okay. You want to see a couple of extras, like which? I want to see the next slide with different markets. Which one? This one? Okay. So, you see, now, this is what I'd like you to, the exercise that you should do. It's like translating this concept, having a design mindset of seeing this vision into the jewelry world, into the design development, into business, into distribution, and so on. So be active rather than passive. That's what I'm saying. It's like when I have that kind of insight that is being shared with me in terms of knowledge, if I get bored, it's my problem. Because there is so much that is being shared. Maybe today we had so many informations, such a deep and important information that maybe we not remember everything, because it's a lot of information. But it's really a privilege to be exposed to such a knowledge, and also we will create an extract of the presentation today that you will download as a PDF from the GJPC website. We're going to put together an extract of these presentations, so you kind of get, as a reminder, as a guideline, as an outline of going forward. So I thank you for. Do you have any questions? I mean, I think it's very, it's an opportunity to have people with, such as professional profile and knowledge. Do you have questions? You're shy? As soon as you're going to have tea, everybody's going to be around you. We're going to ask.
I'm open to one-on-one conversations post this too.
Yeah.
My only point will be, I think the future is pretty bright. We've got a lot of these trends coming in, but we should just keep one thing in mind: the consumer, and because the consumer is what they pay. The consumer is the guy who's paying for it, and we just have to keep them at the center of it, and then we'll be able to practice.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. And now we're going to go to our last session before we're going to have a tea break.